I'm Adam in Wales and I maintain a board gaming vlog on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, Adam's Board Game Wales. Subscribe below if you like this video. But this video is not going to be part of that vlog because in this video I'm talking about my experiences of pitching to to publishers as a board game designer. Now I made a similar video last year and in fact that was a edited together collection of my sort of video diary from Essen 2014. I waited a few months to see what would happen over those months and then I put it up on the internet. Now I'm doing the same thing here, and the point about it not being part of my vlog is because I think this is of specific interest to people who are doing similar things or who aspire to go to these conventions and pitch to publishers. To anyone else, it's going to be pretty boring because it's basically watching me sitting in a hotel room talking about my thoughts about what I'd done that day, the people that I'd met, the experiences that I'd had. And you get a wide variety of different experiences when you meet publishers. They're all obviously different personalities, they've all got massively different budgets and different sizes of booths and so on. So you get a very different reception. And some of them like some games and others don't. They speak in hyperbole. They say this is the greatest game I've ever seen, or they say this is the worst game and you'll never sell it to anybody. And you get the same thing from two different publishers within half an hour. So you go in these huge highs and lows as you go through the fair. That's the fun of it. It's tiring. Okay, so in some of these videos I look a little bit ragged because I've been traipsing around the massive convention hall and I've been having extreme highs and extreme lows. So I made a video like that in 2015 based on my experiences in 2014, and now what I'm going to show you in this video is my experiences from Essen 2015. Currently it's August 2016 and we're in the run-up to convention season. In fact, Gen Con is happening right now in the US, the biggest US convention and the biggest European convention, possibly the biggest board gaming convention of all. Essen Spiel happens in October, so we've got a few weeks left. At this point, I need to decide which prototypes am I going to take to Essen Spiel in 2016 and let the others go by the wayside for a few months, because now I really need to be honing those prototypes, making sure the rules are right, they're written right, making sure that the prototype itself looks good, making multiple copies and working out how I'm going to fit them all in my suitcase to take them off to Essen, and then getting the meetings sorted. So after I've shown you this video, I'm going to come back at the end and I'm going to tell you what my experience has been over the months since Essen 2015. As I say, we're approaching a year since then, and so there have been some developments, but I'll save those until you've watched my video diary. I'm about to set off for day 2 of the Spiel fair in Essen in 2015. I spent the day at the convention yesterday, and yesterday I had 5 meetings. I brought 5 prototypes to the fair this year, and I have another 12 meetings lined up over the next few days. So yesterday the day started with a meeting with a company that I met with last year, and I came back with some different games which I showed them. One of the games they liked very much, and one of the games last year which they took the prototype away. I've never received any feedback from this company, so it was nice to actually hear what they thought of the game, which was basically that they really liked the idea but they'd struggled with the rules. So it's nice to know they're still interested in looking at it again. They want me to give them another prototype with a simplified rule set, so I'm going to get to work on that. I found yesterday was a very different experience with these meetings to what I've had previously, in that I was given an awful lot of coffee. There was always coffee and soft drinks and things like this on offer, which was very nice. Last year that didn't happen so much, so I felt very comfortable being taken off into these little booths, these little lounges, and sitting and talking through the games. The second meeting was with quite a large company that produces simple games. I showed them again my very simple game, and the guy called over his boss to come and look at it, and his boss had a look at it and said, "We'll sign it," said they'd take it on the spot, really. So I mean that's wonderful. Obviously I'm waiting on a contract to sign, which they're going to send out to me. So that was very, very promising. I then showed them another prototype which they took away a copy of, and also were very enthusiastic about that. This company was very glowing in their sort of praise, which is great. And they were glowing in their praise last year. I think they are just very friendly guys. But they seem to be very impressed with the style of prototypes. They seem to like the packaging of my prototypes, and my general approach, which was very pleasing, really. Then I had a meeting with I guess somebody who would be quite a significant sort of figure in board game publishing. Somebody very experienced, involved with a lot of big companies. And so I had a meeting with him and showed him. He only wanted to see one of my prototypes. It was very clear. It's just one of them he was interested in, and he'd only had arranged to see 10 people over the course of the whole fair, and this was one of them, which is a really good start. And he really liked it. Again, largely the praise was about the fact that the prototype really looked very nice, and he felt that my general approach was professional. He liked the approach that I'd taken in the emails and this sort of thing. That was sort of really nice to hear, that I'm approaching things correctly, I think. He did make the point that he said that a lot of publishers will tell you that it doesn't matter what the game looks like, and he said that's only sort of true. He said it does matter. If the game looks nice, it's going to be much easier to get people to play it. People will have a better time playing it, and so although you can have a prototype that doesn't look amazing, it does help. So that's good. I then went to another meeting with a very friendly publisher who I met last year. He was very familiar with me, like as if he knew me, which was really good. And I showed him a game. After we had quite a long conversation about Studio Ghibli anime films first. Then I showed him a game. Again, he really liked it. He took the prototype away. I showed him another game, which I did say at the beginning of the meeting I wasn't sure it would fit his line, and he agreed it didn't fit his line, but he said he thought the game was beautiful. He thought it worked really well. He said selfishly he would like to take away a prototype so he could play it, but he said he'd only have to send it back to me. So, but he said he was convinced that game could be published by other companies. So anyway, that was day one at the fair. Obviously hugely positive, very pleased about the potential agreement with a company. It does leave me with one slight dilemma, in that I have a meeting to show that game to another company today, and so I've got that dilemma of, do I go to the meeting? Do I find a way to cancel a meeting? I don't know whether I'm going to be able to find the guy to cancel the meeting. I'm not going to stand the guy up and not turn up at all, but I'm not really willing to show him the game and pretend that it's still available when it isn't. So I think I'm going to have a frank, open conversation with this guy, but it would be a shame to lose the opportunity to meet, because it's the first time I've come into contact with this company, and it's certainly one that I would like to publish for in the future. So that was day one at Spiel, day two today. I'm just about to head down to day 3 of the Essen Spiel Fair. Yesterday I had another 5 meetings, so this was my second set of 5 meetings. Started with a company, quite a large company. In contrast to the day before, this was a much more sort of business-like approach. Wasn't so friendly, wasn't so sort of enthusiastic, and actually the games that we played, he didn't really like, or he said they didn't fit his line. He didn't see anything new or interesting in them, he felt, and actually he was more interested in the one that now wasn't available because of the success that I had with it the day before. So that was a very different feel to the meeting. Not a bad meeting, and he was by no means unpleasant or unprofessional, just that he was exactly that. He was professional rather than sort of friendly. Then went to another meeting where the man was extremely friendly, and he was very keen on the dice game Throne, but concerned that they'd got a number of dice games lined up over the next year, and although Throne is very different to all those other dice games, he wasn't sure whether he could continue to produce more and more dice games. So that was left as a kind of, he's going to go away and look at his marketing strategy and work out where to go from there. My third meeting I ended up cancelling. I went to the meeting and I spoke to the man, but because the only game I had to show him was the one from the day before, and ultimately I think in these situations honesty seems to be the best policy, so I went along and I told him. He was very pleased, and he basically said
if it falls through, get back in touch, and he'd be very happy to look at the game again then. So that was good. I then had a meeting with a small publisher, a sort of Kickstarter type publisher. Showed him everything that I had, and that was a very positive meeting. Took away prototypes for several, for two of the games, but with the prospect of potentially sending on further prototypes at a later point. I then had a final meeting with a company that I'm very fond of, and I thought two of the games might fit quite well with their sort of range, and so I showed it to them, and indeed they did fit very well, he felt, and so he's taking all those away for testing. So I've got rid of a lot of prototypes. Have been taken by companies to look at, for all the games except for Sunburn at this point. Make it snappy, obviously. Still the plan is that will progress with one company. And we'll see where we are from there. So I've got 7 meetings still to go. I might have a little wander around and see some of the smaller sort of publishers who are doing the sort of Kickstarter type stuff, see what's going on with those over the next couple of days, and maybe see if I can arrange a couple more things. This is the start of day 4 at Spiel 2015. So yesterday I had another 5 meetings, and today I have 2 lined up. So yesterday was a mixed bag of meetings. I've had the full range over this fair, from having meetings in the little sort of booths where they'll take you off behind a closed door, to being taken down long corridors, to fancy sort of executive areas, to having yesterday sort of, push all the stuff aside on the table and we'll just set up and play amongst all the customers. So I had a couple of those yesterday. And even one yesterday where we were taken down a corridor and we went into this dark corridor and sat on the cold sort of marble steps and played in the corridor, which was unusual amongst all the other sort of experiences that I've had. So I said it was a mixed bag yesterday. The first session I played several games with them, and it's always hard to tell whether it's just somebody's sort of nature or whether it's that they're unenthusiastic. But there was praise in there for the quality of the designs. The guy wasn't, felt he couldn't see anything new in the games, although he did take away a copy of City Rollers to look at. So I don't have high hopes for that company particularly. The next company was a large German company who are very excited about potentially working with, but they really were very glowing about my game Throne. He said that it was of the prototypes he'd seen over the fair, it was the most interesting one he'd seen. And I mean, the downside of a big company like that is that it's going to take, he said it will take several months, and at each sort of stage at the end of the month I'll get feedback and they'll tell me whether I've gone on to the next stage. So it's going to be some time before I know whether this is really truly progressing or not. I then had another meeting with another big company. This time they were interested in Sunburn, so that was really nice because Sunburn has had to receive less sort of interest than some of the other games over this fair. So Sunburn now is sitting waiting to be tested by a good company. I then showed a game to a small company, a sort of up-and-coming company that have had a couple of big hits recently. Again, it was a sort of push the stuff aside job, play on the table. The guy was lovely and played several of the games, and he was interested in Sunburn as well. So Sunburn now sits with him too, which is fantastic. And then finally, a meeting with an American company, and we looked at several games. And ultimately, although they seemed to think the games were good quality, they didn't think it could fit their line because they only really produce either a big box game, and they said City Rollers is too light compared to their other big box games, so selling it at the same price point people would be disappointed. Or they do a very small box game and they felt Throne would be too expensive to fit into their small box range, so those games didn't fit. And they weren't particularly interested in the other games. So that's it. Final day today. Just 2 meetings. So hopefully I'll have time to actually play some games today, and then I'll be done. So I'm back from the final day at the Spiel fair. I've had 2 meetings today, 2 formal meetings, but I have also wandered around the halls of the fair and talked to many publishers from all around the world who I hadn't really sort of thought about sending games to before, just checking how the submissions work for those companies, meeting the individuals involved, getting business cards, that sort of thing. And so it's opened up a lot of new avenues, I think, potentially for me, and some of them certainly were interested in the sort of games that I was talking about. Of the 2 formal meetings that I had, both were very promising. One for Sunburn, one more for City Rollers, and Ruffling Feathers as well. I also, one of the publishers recognised me from video reviews that I'd done on the internet, which was a unusual sort of experience. Him saying, "Oh, I really like your videos," and I haven't done a video review actually for a long time, so it was quite strange to be recognised. I was recognised twice today, which is a strange experience, and particularly because I've specifically stopped doing reviews because I'm a little concerned that if I do negative reviews, that's going to impact on my relationship with publishers when I come to meet them as a designer. It was a very interesting day. It's still, again, very promising and opened up lots of new avenues, hopefully. So that brings me to an end of Spiel. I have given the games, all 5 of the games have had a lot of interest, and many prototypes given away, so hopefully I'll be hearing stuff soon from some of those companies, but it's just the waiting game now. So that's it for Essen 2015.
Okay, so going way back to Essen 2014, this was my first attempt at showing prototypes to publishers, and I immediately had some interest in the games. Now that year I only took 2 games with me. One of the games did generate some interest, and I even was sent a contract for that game, which eventually didn't come through for various reasons. Over the year, then I developed a few more games, and I took those. Last year I took to Essen 5 games. Now, I had a much more successful sort of year in 2015 in that immediately one of the games was sort of snapped up, as you've seen in the video discussion. That one will be released. Make It Snappy will be released by Blue Orange Games at some point over the next year or 18 months, I believe. I think they have quite a long backlog of games because it's a big company. So I've got a small, speedy, sort of simple card game for all ages. I like it very much. I hope that will come to fruition over the next few months. I also, which the video hasn't mentioned because this happened over the coming months really, my game Ruffling Feathers was picked up by Brain Games. So Brain Games will be releasing my trick-taking game Ruffling Feathers. And I think that'll be out probably at Nuremberg in 2017, and it's looking great. I've enjoyed talking to the company over the last few months and discussing rules tweaks and alterations and looking at the artwork, all this sort of stuff. It's very exciting to be working closely with a publisher, and I'm looking forward to the launch. I also had some interest in all of the other games as well, all 3 of the other games that I took. In fact, one of them came very close, I think, to getting signed. There was lots of discussion back and forth between myself and the publisher. It was all priced up for components and all this sort of stuff, and ultimately I think the publisher needed to make a decision between a very small number of games, and mine didn't quite make the cut, which was disappointing, but also hugely sort of invigorating in that I know that it came close, and so this one I'm sure it's going to happen. It's just a case of finding the right people at the right time. And of course, I take on board all the feedback from the various publishers that I've had. And over the last year, I've been honing them, changing them, altering them, trying to adapt to what is essentially a changing and growing market. So that's the position now. I have 2 games which are signed. I have a new game which I'm definitely going to be taking to Essen this year. I may well have a second new game, and then I'll take back a couple of those which I've shown to various publishers and try and show them maybe to some more people who I haven't met yet. Each year I build on those relationships that I've made on previous years. So you're starting to get a feel for people, what they're going to be like, what they're going to like, and I think they're getting a feel for me as well. So hopefully I'll have another video diary to show you, maybe around this sort of time next year, to show you what happened in October 2016. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this was of some interest and use to somebody. If you liked it, please watch my board gaming vlog, Adam in Wales, or Adam's Board Game Wales. I'm Adam78 on Board Game Geek, and on Twitter I'm at Board Game Wales, so please come and follow me, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thanks very much for watching. All the best.